You are now tuned into the Black Law Students Association of Canada's YouTube. All right, so how are you doing conference so far?
Conference has been great. Like, it's my first time here, and being able to be around other chapter members, chapter presidents, learning from them, and then also just celebrating Black History Month by being here, surrounded by Black community. Like, you can't get better than that.
Awesome. So let's start off with your name and which school you attend.
So I'm Keegan Blackmore, and I'm the co-president along with Nathaniel Nurse for McGill's chapter.
Awesome. So what was your first impression when you started at McGill, and why did you choose to go to McGill in the first place?
Well, I chose McGill primarily because it was such a prestigious school, but it also had the bilingual aspect. So French has been something that I've kind of taken on as a passion since, I would say, second year university. I actually traveled to France, lived there for a year, just to improve my French, because one of the requirements, or lack thereof, is the LSAT, and that's because they haven't translated the test yet. So because of that, you need to be able to speak French, or you write the LSAT and then you go into basically the English sections within the school. So I took 3 years to learn French, applied, and was very lucky enough to get in. So
that's awesome. Yeah. That's dedication.
It is, man. Like, that's what it's about, right? Self-improvement.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, so when you walked through the doors of McGill, take me through there. What was your first impressions?
Well, it wasn't that long ago, because I am 1L.
Okay.
So September, I'm from Ottawa, so we all hopped in the minivan and we drove down 2.5 hours or so, and we went to the old, Chancellor Day Hall. That's the sort of old historic building. Took photos with the family,
Oh, I love that.
Mom came and come here. So I've never been squeezed so hard in my life. And then the next week it was orientation, and like, great events, good people, got to kind of expand my network a bit, or more so establish it. And then the following week, classes, and that's where you realize that you're in law school. And it's not necessarily intimidating, it's more motivating, because you realize that the standard really has been elevated. And I don't know about you, but like, I actually found high school harder than I found my undergrad, thankfully enough. And coming to law school, I was back in that, like, you gotta work. It's not impossible, but it is a challenge, and it's a good challenge. So that was kind of my, I was never overwhelmed by being at McGill, like, it wasn't about the name for me. It was just about doing something that I had set out for myself, and then being in a moment where I could actually start to really achieve it.
What made you choose McGill aside from other law schools? Did you apply to other law schools, or were you just focused on McGill?
Well, I knew that I wanted to go to law school. I knew that I wanted to study at least partially in French. So really for me, it was between McGill and the University of Ottawa. And being from Ottawa and having done my undergrad in Ottawa, there's a bias. But I knew that if I really wanted to see how far I could go, I needed to push myself. So I did an exchange, and while I was away, I was actually sitting at my computer one night, and I had this big plan to apply to a program with U of T for people who are of lower income households to study for the LSAT, write the LSAT in the following September. So it's a summer program that led into September.
Is it a summer mentorship program?
I think so, it might be. So my initial plan was to do that, and then apply to just as many schools as I could and see what would happen. But I was on the internet, and I knew from years past that I wanted to go into a French program if I could. So I just hopped online one night, and I was like, you know what? Let's just see when the applications are due, just for fun. And it turns out it was that night. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. And I applied, and they gave me 7 days to submit my my application, right? All the supporting documents. But this is a long-winded way of saying I didn't really have a plan other than to study in French and to see how far I could go.
Awesome.
So I applied to McGill kind of on a whim. I got everything done in the allotted amount of time, and I was lucky enough to get in. But I knew French, and Montreal is kind of the hub of the French Canada, arguably Quebec City, but you know, economic hub is Montreal. So I was like, let's see what I can do. Prestige, French, let's go.
Awesome. I guess my question would then transition into questions for prospective students. So,
okay.
What would
Yeah, I got you.
what would be something that you would say is unique about your law school that you didn't expect coming in? So something a bit under the radar, but you came in and you're like, wow,
Coffee
people need
house.
to know this. Oh, coffee house.
Coffee
No, something academic, not after coffee house.
All right. Academic.
Yeah.
Honestly, the biggest thing for me is realizing that the profs that you're being taught by are actually the ones who are on the case. So to have faculty members who are that renowned and, you know, not only know their stuff, but have put it to the test and then been successful, to have that level of education right at your fingertips is like, it's very rare. So I'm incredibly grateful that McGill offers me that, and you know, every single day, like I try to make the most of it.
Awesome. How has your BLSA chapter helped you prior to getting into law school, or how are they helping you now while you're in law school?
Yeah, well, being a 1L and a president is pretty tough, you know, like I won't lie. Not every day is as smooth as it could be, let's say. So having a solid base to lean on if necessary, and then also just being open within your chapter, right? Like, I know that you gotta be humble, right? You know your limitations, and knowing how to utilize the personnel in the best way possible. And that also extends to, you know, for me, right? If I have a weakness and someone's able to point it out, that's great. So just the sense of community that BLSA allows me to have is a great privilege. And like the faculty is pretty small, and then the Black community within the faculty is even smaller. So you have mentors no matter where you go, right? So that's a big thing. And then also just being able to solidify your identity within your chapter and then within your school, having that sense of community.
That's awesome. Okay. What was something in the application process specifically that someone probably gave you as a tip that you applied that probably made you successful into McGill?
So we actually have a couple events. We call them like See Ourselves Here. And the biggest thing for me would be use your application to flesh your entire personality out. Not just your business self, but also, you know, your personal self. So for me, because of how short the personal statement is, it's only 500 words, I basically left all my business stuff in my resume because we had two pages. And then I used my, I used my personal statement as a way of allowing the admission staff to know who I was and where I come from, what my story is, you know, and having a theme. So for me, I basically, just because of where I come from, like I didn't have the most privileged background. So a lot of it was about self-discipline. And for me, that turned into consistency. And consistency being the quantifier for excellence. So it's not about having the highest bar, it's about having the most consistently high bar. So that might be lower than a peak, but you never get those huge valleys. So I wrote my thing saying consistency is excellence. And that's what I've been able to do. And that's what McGill is. It's a consistently excellent school. And that's why I think I represent McGill. And that's why I want to bring my talents to McGill. Because it's, you know, that's what it is, symbiotic relationship.
That's a bar. I don't even know. I don't know if people can copy and paste that because they may all be using that now. I want to use it for
trademark
right now.
2020 trademark.
Trademark for real. For real. Wow. Okay. I guess I'm gonna have to wrap it up because of time.
Sure.
So my final question would be, what does it mean to be a part of the Black Law Students Association of Canada as a national organization?
Yeah.
And is there something that you hope that they will do for your career going forward?
Honestly, I think it's just community. That is the biggest thing. Knowing that you have other people in your situation around, right? And I'm from the East Coast. I'm from a very small community, like community of Beachville. It's about 150 people right now. So we're, 200 years old, but it's very tight knit. So having that community elsewhere in the country is, an immense privilege. And then what it can do for my career, honestly, I'm not too focused on that. I would rather just make the friendships and then see where things go. And that's kind of just, I'm counting my blessings, because by all accounts, like, this is already beyond what I expected for myself and what people around me growing up could have expected of me. So now I'm just here to make friends, here to make connections, and then just, develop the community and push the community. Really push that, my vision for my chapter and Nathaniel Nurse's chapter, our chapter, is to not only kind of recognize the past, but also push for the recognition of Black excellence as it is right now, both in the legal field and elsewhere, and really engage the community and show them that they can do what we're doing. It's not just a far-fetched sort of pipe dream, it is a reality. So yeah, that's what BLSA gives me. It gives me that, sense of community and that sense of, this is a reality. So go out and get it,
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of our prospective viewers are really going to be interested in reaching out to you, especially they probably have aspirations of becoming your colleagues one day at McGill.
Absolutely.
So is there any way they can reach out to you?
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn, Keegan Blackmore. It's spelled Keighgan. Blackmore as in black, like us, or More. And you can also catch me at keegan.blackmore@mail.mcgill.ca.
Awesome. I want to thank Keegan for being here, and hopefully very soon when you're applying, not only do you reach out to him, but maybe in the following year, you see him very soon. Thank you very much.